little bit more as we take a look at the battleground for the second game. Where are we going? First pick is selected for No Tomorrow. After that loss, Tempo Storm going to take us to Towers of Doom. Towers and Dragonshire sit at some of the highest priority for Tempo Storm, but it does sit among some of the higher priority we've seen from No Tomorrow recently, so a bit more, kind of home turf here for No Tomorrow.
I feel like there's a lot that goes into the drafts and what we've seen so far of No Tomorrow that lends the favor over towards Tempo, especially in control in the early skirmishes. One thing that I kind of thought maybe we would see, Infernal Shrines, a favorite of both teams, and it's also one of the maps where I see No Tomorrow in that older playstyle have more of their success, but that also is Tempo's best map, or one of their best maps outside of Dragonshire. So I wondered if we would go there, but Towers, I think, definitely to Tempo's favor as well. I don't know what I want to see from No Tomorrow at this point outside of some aggression. Just get a little crazy with it.
You bring the battle is all we ask here.
That's actually been one of the best things to do against Tempo, especially when they were running that old Deathball comp, was just like, look, fight fire with fire. Just, okay, we'll throw down. We'll take our chances in this big 5-on-5 skirmish. But you let Tempo get any bit of control, it's just way too difficult.
Maybe the Dahaka is an area they could look for that on the side lane, something Tempo Storm has been hinging to, not only on Dragonshire the last game, just in general. They have higher Dahaka priority than the rest of North America, and Towers of Doom. It's one you can get that strategy. That in mind, we are sitting with the adjustments of the Sappers, so not as much focus towards that bottom lane and kind of death ball conversion over the Sappers.
That's something you and I were talking about, is just the simple fact that it's weird because it's not that prominent to where you're just like, oh, well, this, and this about the Sappers. But like from yesterday's games, what I saw from EU earlier, it is very much felt in terms of that bot lane control, which at times could be overly oppressive for a lot of people.
A lot of metas too. Draft, like essentially draft styles opened up huge now that we see this change coming.
Method even went the Abathur full melee comp earlier because generally, if you go that style, you lose the bot lane, all of a sudden you're like, look, I'm never retaking that because I have no range damage. But even then, as you said, opening up those drafts, it definitely does change a large part of this battleground, especially if you do want to fight early game and not worry about getting a little bit behind and not having that comeback potential.
Still going to see the Genji first pick here for No Tomorrow. One of the, two teams still here. These are the two teams in North America at that high of a Genji priority. Almost everybody else is kind of, honestly, we see most drafts where he doesn't even get picked, really.
Yeah.
Except between these two.
It's not like his win rate is anything that's
to write home about. Yeah.
It's funny because as much as he gets played, it continues to fall and fall and fall. And he's sitting somewhere, coming into this weekend with something like 41% win rate, which for ranged assassins is not good.
Very low.
It's not good. And the other thing is, he also had the single lowest first pick win percentage of any hero.
Even worse than Tyrael, and that's saying something.
Yeah, Tyrael's actually going up. It's really weird. Tyrael's somewhere sitting, I think I checked this morning, about 36% in terms of first pick. It was 32%.
Yeah.
So this weekend, a little bit more success over the past 2 weekends. Genji, however, still sitting around that 32%.
Hanzo Uther for Tempo Storm. The Hanzo doesn't surprise me. I'm not even surprised with the Uther. I just want to say that this is, look at how frequently this is happening. I'm telling you, Tempo Storm, they're on something here. Whether or not, I don't know whether or not I back it all the way, but to the fact that they even have a different thought process than the rest, and again, on that same kind of idea of like, it feels like they haven't been fully tested so far. It's just like, I want to see where they end up landing, because I would be willing to argue, though I don't think they totally nailed it. I think they identified some of the, gameplay changes and adjusted their play around that to cater to that, new meta of the Western Clash. I feel like they were still a bit off the mark, but for the most part, they were the closest to identifying that, and I feel like this is kind of hinging on what is that next evolution.
Well, you're talking about the early identification. When this team first formed just under 2 years ago in July of 2016, before we got our league season started, June was one of the only people at the events that we had back in the day.
Brightwing, right?
Playing Uther. I remember there was even.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
We actually had Garden of Terror was like in the map rotation at the time.
Wait, what's that map?
It's the one with the big plant that slaps things.
The plant one. Okay.
But I remember we were talking about that 2 years ago. I think it was like maybe PAX at the time or the event right before that. And I remember thinking like, man, I don't know what he's doing picking this Uther. But then he comes out, has the least deaths of anybody, comes out and you're like, and that was when June first came into the pro scene. It's like, who is this guy? Why is he picking Uther? Because Uther was not in the meta at the time, and he was just dominating with that. He was just making plays you didn't expect. So they identified it early then. Maybe they're onto something now.
I definitely think they're, I will say I am confident they're onto something with the idea that Uther is relevant in the meta and should be of, you know, kind of different value to some of the rest. I think a lot of it hinges on their priority into the Genji. I talked about that a little bit in week number 1 of part 2, about how the Genji priority changes Tyrael and Maiev also when she was sitting at the 9 vault, which we're at the 12 vault already. It changed a lot of the dynamic between those two to where double invuln should get higher in priority. I think it's a little bit lower now, but Tempo still keeping it at the top of theirs. Interesting selection with the Anu Barak. Haven't even touched up on that. And also Abathur Garrosh banned out.
This is one of those rare moments, Dread, where I'd be more than okay if we get a Fantassadar here. Just kind of go into Redemption build at level 1, get that big armor, or the armor reduction at level 7. Anubrak already has a small health pool, and I've seen this in the past when Anubrak was kind of popular in the early part of this year. People were using that at level 7, just taking away. He has a smaller health pool because he has built-in spell armor. You just auto-attack him to death, and they're strong auto-attacks, especially when you complete that Redemption. Fan, give that opportunity, maybe even complement that with a Diablo, because you know you're going to have some aggression. Maybe get a Force Wall into that. The minute Anubrak comes in, just counter that. You get Blaze, we get Tychus instead.
No Tassadar today, unless we're getting, you know, method level creativity here out of Tempo Storm. Blaze, Tychus, huh?
I mean, it still gives you a
so
lot of
much harder
control.
right up here. I just want you to know that. Like,
really?
I feel for you here.
Tell me more.
This part I definitely don't like about this new stance. Everything else is fine. You can even keep your hands in your pockets, and it's not socially acceptable because they can see your pockets. Like, think about it. That is a lot of power.
But tell me more about this writing, maybe hand placement on dust.
Everything else is. I don't need to endorse your I'm a snowflake because I'm a little bit taller than the remainder of the world.
Look, if we could just raise the desk by like 3 inches, like I could actually stand like the rest of you. Instead, I feel isolated and alone. It's a terrible feeling.
Miles above, cold air.
I actually had to have them turn the heat on, or the air on today to make it colder in here because it's actually hotter down here.
Yeah. Change in elevation. It's just wild what you experience. Tracer Dahaka as the last two here for No Tomorrow.
Okay, so that is your main sources of damage are Genji Tracer.
Yeah. Which are really, really generally some of the weaker ones into a support like Uther.
Just a bit.
Unless you hit the isolation, then, I don't know, Tychus survives with the Tracer Genji really well too. Like, Hanzo's the only guy that I go, yeah, I need a D-Shield. This last pick on the side of Temple, as long as it, in fact, is in the warrior role and it's a main warrior, I feel like it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it doesn't die, it's great. I mean, it could be literally any of them, and I feel like it's great. I would like to see, I feel like in this case, what do we have at the other side? A new Barak, I go with more ETC. Okay. Just anything to control the Anu, right? Because now my thought process is I want this Anu Barak dead. I want to squish the bug because he's going to be very, very squishy over the map. Diablo's going to make that happen. I would have gone with ETC, just safer with the control, be able to get that knockback, but...
It's funny because I almost thought, would we get variant experiment number 2?
Ooh.
It's unsuccessful so far, 0 for 1 on the side of Cattle, but this situation you kind of thought maybe, but maybe in a few weeks when we get variant changes.
Yeah, when we get the variant changes, then I expect them to probably show up here and there for North America. But, you know, last time we saw the variant, that was the one game Tempo Storm has lost so far in part 2, and it was to LFM. And I think that was a big enough of a, you know, case example to be like, variant, not even once.
Again, we'll see it in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I am really curious about those changes with variant, and if that does bring him...
He's all over here, League.
Dude, Taunt at level 4?
Yeah.
Twin Blades at level 4? Twin Blades. Level 4. Seems good.
We got game number 2 ready here, ladies and gentlemen, on Towers of Doom. Again, Tempo Storm and No Tomorrow, duking it out. Tempo Storm sticking with that Uther priority. This game, compared to the last game with the Uther, looks a lot better, right? We just complimented about the damage sources and what it kind of makes happen. It's not like it looked bad in the last game, but it's just the Lunara adjustment was purely trying to punish Uther. And not even June. Yeah, I mean, he didn't even flinch, really. Not a sign of struggles there. -1 Divine Shield. Storm. Excuse me. It's a little bit confusing.
Well, I think this time I'd be surprised if we don't see.
I'd be willing to put
A
money
D-Shield.
on
Those two esports dollars that you got last week?
Yeah, we were watching No Tomorrow. That's it. You know, every time No Tomorrow's on, apparently I make an esports bet. There it is. My 2 esports dollars goes to we will get Divine Shield. Oh, I almost said Storm and screwed myself.
I would say you can't go back.
So, like, notice how I was freaking out about the last mini wave. Notice how this one, full clash for No Tomorrow over the mid lane. So then Tempo Storm doesn't need to rotate out faster or get overly kind of punished. It also met itself over the mid. This is just trying to bring back how really clever it was for Tempo Storm. And also Tempo controlling the rotations already here on Towers of Doom.
That stomp there by Cattle, just making sure he gets the dismount on basically everybody. I mean, it's just such an underrated thing. It's small, but it could have a large impact if you consider the long term of the game. So those are always fun to watch. I 100% agree with you.
I mean, to give you guys, you know, kind of an idea, average viewer at home, wondering how big of an impact is that mount speed in those kind of rotations. We have a hero who is relevant in the meta that a majority of the time, his talent he takes at level 1 literally just gives him movement speed on his mount. That's on a pale horse on Malthael.
Okay, look, I said earlier, I was like, I'd like to see No Tomorrow change it up, get aggressive with the Anubarak. Dude, they're coming out firing right now.
Yeah, they're even going to draw Equinox. Do they land the drag? They do. No Impale follow-up. There it is. Bro charge, Pulse Bomb. Good night, Blaze. Glarong is going to go down. No Tomorrow takes out that Sapper. And you are right. They are ablaze here.
This is what any bit of success that they've had at any point this year, most of their wins have come with Anubarak. That's just the way it is, right? And that was a lot of success that they found in week 4, which was one of their most successful weekends and when they started the upset of Team Freedom. And it was just the aggression, the aggression, the aggression. You know, obviously Tempo Storm was prepared for that because Glaurung, you know, we've seen a lot of teams recognize that if Tahaka's on the other side, we need to move that Blaze down to be that backup safety net. But No Tomorrow had so much power there. They were able to get that first takedown, invade, and steal the camp.
No Tomorrow's able to keep this up. It's going to be, you know, maybe a bit more of a competitive game than we gave credit. We also, I talked about it before, No Tomorrow feels more comfortable on towers than they did on the Dragon Shire. It's one of their map selections as well. So Tempo Storm, we're not going to see that same, you know, kind of maybe lopsidedness out of the match. 30 seconds out from the first altar phase, a global advantage over the side of No Tomorrow, so you can assume that they're going to want to be playing that double altar a little bit more offensively than Tempo.
Just curious the positioning here, and maybe we'll see. I just want to know if we're going to see an interrupt on potentially the Tahaka up at the top right, but the early aggression again, and whether Tempo Storm is going to stand their ground, whether they're going to be able to, or whether No Tomorrow is going to bring it. We have another Pulse Bomb available for Shrite on that Tracer. You can see Genji hiding in the bush at the top left on the mini-map. Going to be joined by Tracer. They're going to see if they can take care of Glaurung here.
Going to go in, drop a Pulse Bomb immediately. Nice use there of that Blink, and actually going to get the Brush Talk from Equinox. Not able to hit the drag over the wall. Nice attempt, though. Double Altar's already going to be picked up here as we see 36 to 36.
They're still holding here. I mean, No Tomorrow is willing to give that up. I mean, good play there by Glaurung, but saw him. He's caught out. He's going to be taken down. Shrite manages to live with a tiny bit of health. But still, No Tomorrow does concede the top left altar, but they're still making their presence very much felt.
This is only going to get more difficult as things kind of move on, as we see this success in the earlier stages. The biggest advantage for Tempo Storm here is the fact that they're winning at least when it comes to that core HP. You know, winning one altar phase over the opponents, it does buy a lot more time than you'd originally kind of expect, especially if you can maintain the scaling, you know, towards second altar phase and third altar phases. As long as it's a 4 deficit and then you can recover elsewhere in experience, you're going to be just fine. But No Tomorrow, this is going to be exciting to see if they can really use this. I mean, because post-10, what these team fights are going to be looking for anybody a bit confused on what's trying to happen with this composition on No Tomorrow, it's just going to be find a target, go in, get the isolation with the Cocoon, get a one-shot reset with the Pulse Bomb, and Genji hopefully gets that one-shot, right? Haka and Malfurion there with the roots for hopefully setting up those kills onto the side. And it's just whether or not that bunker that is going to be sitting there trying to save everybody other than Uther, who is likely going to be cocooned, can they get in?
Well, that's the thing that kind of makes me question, like, we saw minor change-ups, right? But it didn't include the Uther. Bunker kind of can save more than one person, obviously. You know, we saw Tyrael start to become a priority target in cocoon moments.
Yeah.
Will we potentially get a cocoon onto Blaze to deny that bunker? That's what I'm curious about. But with Tychus on the other side, I mean, you don't have a lot of time. The cocoon obviously is based on how many times it takes damage in terms of its longevity. And Tychus obviously has really fast attack speed. So, you know, you got whatever you do, you got to make it happen quick.
No heroics yet, so yet to see the kind of cocoon trade. Dahaka and Blaze are worried about the side lanes. Brochar goes in. There's the Impale Pulse Bomb. Cattle is going to be under pressure. Going to use the Shadow Charge out, get the stun of the Casanova, but they give over the reset. Double, triple blink out from Jay Shrite is going to keep him up, and now he's going to start this channel.
I am a little bit impressed. Again, post level 10, I feel like this game is going to look so much different, especially with APOC, everything about this.
And also one thing we have to bring up here. Hold up. Jin with the two-man Impale. Immediate follow-up coming out from Genji. June is going to give reset number 4, it feels like, over the past minute for Casa. Now almost a full level ahead for No Tomorrow. What can they make happen here with their 10s, with their heroics? They need to paint this map absolutely red. What I was going to say was, you know, the trade-off of the last pick, the Diablo versus the ETC I was kind of talking about before. One thing we have to keep in mind is that this is a Genji Tracer. You want point-and-click hard crowd control. Towers of Doom, one of the best Diablo maps when it comes to setting up Diablo to get those shadow charges out. When we're looking at that 13-16, he is going to bring that kind of hurt and that pain and make this team fight angle a lot more different.
Hanzo and Tychus are both coming up, but so is Casanova on Genji. You can see the scatter arrow taking huge chunks of damage. Equinox is getting he's going to get slammed around a little bit, but at the same time, No Tomorrow took down that bottom bell tower. You said paint it red. They did just that.
Yeah, they did end up getting that conversion over to their name, and it's going to be more profitable than Tempo Storm on the top half of the map. Just because Tempo not having the zappers behind it, not as much time as well. No Tomorrow has the opportunity to respond 5 seconds out. They have a brush shot if needed. Even Tracer flanking. Good job by Caterpillar anchoring. He knows that rotation is there and just matches it with a nice shadow charge. Bit of miscommunication coming out from Psalm there with that Dragon's Arrow.
June's sitting on his heroic dread. There's no way he doesn't go D-shield, right? I mean,
I think there's a world where you don't because you have bunker and only because you have bunker, but I would still say it's an insane risk.
I think that's when Blaze would become a priority cocoon target.
Yeah, then Blaze actually outweighs it. Yeah, there's the Divine Shield. Yeah, it's one of those, man, I can see you making that argument, but it comes down to, again, the forgiveness and the kind of variables that have to align with your composition when you make that happen. Tempo, they end up getting those 3 shots as that bell tower, both bell towers on bottom, still controlled by No Tomorrow. No Tomorrow still without Jin for a long while.
Glaurung just buying a little bit of time, making sure to zone out a little bit, getting the stun. No threat whatsoever. No Tomorrow now finds themselves down 32-6 in terms of core health. And Ubrak starting to make his way over. We might be seeing a little bit more aggression coming in as Equinox, he's walking in, gets on point, gets the tongue, but that's going to be a good cleanse there. See the D-shield as the bunker comes down as well.
Yeah, but Divine Shield and bunker getting sacked is not something you normally want, but getting that kill onto the Dahaka is going to be enough here for No Tomorrow. Especially considering we didn't see the isolation even manage to go off. It's just they turned around and just put the damage in. Say goodnight Equinox. That's going to allow Tempo to back out, convert over to this bell tower, back into their name, restore the balance 4-4 on those shots.
Post level 10, things looking a little bit different here. Kills were 5-0 to start the game. Now we're looking at 3-5. No Tomorrow. Obviously, a few of those came right before. You can see Shrite, he's going to get out of there. Casanova hanging out there, getting a little bit of poke damage in, but things starting to turn around here for Tempo. See if they can maybe take control of that bot lane. We do see we've got a single altar phase here next. It should be an even fight in terms of 13-13, and now this is Tempo Storm looking to potentially come in for the invade.
Going to start it up. They are winning that race. There's a tick over to 13. No attempt to contest this for No Tomorrow. One altar is going to spawn over this next phase. No Tomorrow will have the 13s, though.
Jen and team, they're going to try and hold on, but Cattle waiting in the wings there. Good roots put down by Thompson to make sure Cattle couldn't get too much more value. Jen gets back to safety. Sappers do move forward. Level 13 almost here for No Tomorrow. So you see Dahaka, he's coming in. Psalm goes down.
That was a great job by Jay Shrite moving up. They even get the cocoon. Isolation lands on the Cattle. Is he going to drop the APOC? No, he won't. He'll hold on, get the 100 Souls reset. Divine Shield force onto Uther, but the drag might be... Oh, he got the Hammer of Justice out last second. June clutching it out there to keep himself alive. You saw Equinox, he was just like, oh, I got this drag. Don't worry, don't worry. Well done here for Tempo Storm. But I was saying Jay Shrite, that initiation, having the communication to get Equinox to come down with that brush stock, but more importantly, he started the prep on that fight way earlier than that with the double blink in, hitting him with the slap on that W and the pulse bomb prep.
Right now, Tempo Storm trying to hold on to the bottom here. The stun, nice Nature's Cure there. A little bit of cleanse onto Casanova. Good play, heads up by Tomster. As they've kind of neutralized the experience. They're close in terms of core health as it's 28-6. You know, one thing I always kind of like to see, especially with these dive compositions on the side of No Tomorrow, is we kind of see that different change-up at 13. This one is so you apply the vulnerability when you use your Dark Swarm on Dahaka. And when you can execute that Swift Strike in as well as going in with the melee, now that we've got that Bullet Spray coming in, big-time damage potentially.
Flip over, stun. Not enough to get the kill, but the Dragon Arrow locking it down. Malfurion trying to get in range for the heal. Won't be there in time. Actually went for the Moonfire first. Mid of misplay. Rue's going to be set down. Odin used. Reset one now over to Casanova. He's looking for a second onto Cattle. APOC goes in, but it's not going to matter as that drag hits onto June. 3-for-1 trade in favor of No Tomorrow.
What is happening here, Dread? Like, No Tomorrow, you know, they started out 5 kills to 0. And all of a sudden, Tempo Storm came back, got 3 of their own. Now all of a sudden, we're looking at 10 kills to 4. I mean, despite all that, Tempo Storm does have the core health lead, but that could change drastically here over the next few minutes.
A lot of it seems to be coming down to just Glorong on the Blaze and the rotations versus the Dahaka is not being able to match, or at least obviously beat him, but not prepping the wave enough beforehand, because Bunker is the deterrent, right? That is the saving tool. If Uther's not there, then the Bunker has to be there. June, majority of these fights has had to eventually Divine Shield himself or, you know, kind of rid his cooldowns onto somebody else in not optimal situations, but that's because of the forcing in the hand here from No Tomorrow.
We got one Sapper to cross in that bottom lane. Tracer picks up the bottom one. No Tomorrow, they're going to try and buy a little bit of time. Still 15 seconds away from Tranquility. You can see Glaurung still continuing to get the poke over there on Blaze. But now Tempo Storm without 16, finding themselves down. They're going to go ahead and retreat, and all of a sudden No Tomorrow has themselves a lead here on Towers of Doom.
They need to make sure, though, that they keep control over the bottom half of the map. But Tomorrow's kind of showing for a moment. Flip over and stun number 2 onto Jin. Dragon Arrow's not even necessary. Is this going to just be a bit of a victory dance flying across the map?
Pre-16, that pathing's okay. Post-16,
no
not so much.
pathing's okay. Welcome to Diablo.
Well, we can see Tempo trying to reclaim control of this bot lane. Picking up the Sappers on the side of No Tomorrow. Should be able to get cleared up here, but they'll retreat back, try and clear out the minions on their side and neutralize this bot lane.
Minions are going to match that bottom bell tower. They're going to convert it over during this time frame. How much can they make happen past this point? Anubarak will be back. A lot of rotations here from No Tomorrow towards the top half, as if they expect a full commitment towards that bottom bell tower and then a boss play.
See if we get the bait here. See if Glaurung takes the bait. Glaurung, pathing coming in.
Oh, baby. Jet Propulsion got interrupted, forces the cleanse and the bunker. Big play there from No Tomorrow. Equinox landing that. Doesn't end up getting that kill, but, I mean, 40 seconds out, that means what are we looking at? About 20, 15-second difference between that altar spawn and bunker?
Yeah, because now what you can do is you can land that cocoon onto Uther and be aggressive and get that big blow up, that big pulse one. And there is no save now that the bunker's down. So No Tomorrow has to recognize that. If they're going to be aggressive, right now is the time if they want to try and take this fight. This is a big opportunity for them.
Still 15 seconds out from the bunker. Hanzo's going to go ahead and start channel up the top left. Odin is used. Glaurung, it gets the next interrupt. 10 seconds out from the bunker. Interrupt channel goes in. Genji gets a one-shot. Dragon's Arrow comes flying across. There's the APOC hitting 3 members of No Tomorrow until they are just obliterated. Saw him trying to get the track down onto Jay Shrite. He will be able to kind of, you know, squirm his way out of this.
Well, we've got 2 bell towers about to be converted over. And then you look at the bottom could easily change. This is very reminiscent of the series we saw earlier. As you see the Jet Propulsion going to hit onto Shrite. Not yet converted. Glaurung going to get that here in a moment.
This might be nitpicky. We'll find out. I don't know. We'll see if that staggering that is going to set them back. But in theory, it will be able to be something that, you know, kind of hurts them. 6 shots now towards the core. The boss picked up. This is now rounding lethal. Looking back at that, though, there's the initiation. Cattle, just 1 shot. But look at this. Here's the arrow into that APOC, all 3. I mean, there's just no hope. Jay Shrite is just standing there off on the side like, guys, I don't know what to do here.
I want to help, but I'm just going to
You're all dead, and there's
here.
red circles everywhere, and I don't want to be a part of this.
My favorite part was the trust there. Obviously, you know, you have the call out that Dragon's Arrow is coming. APOC was pressed before that hit. I mean, it was just the perfect setup there. Now we're looking at 20 for Tempo Storm. And as much as No Tomorrow had some semblance of control for a while, that fight just turned things around. And Caterpillar, post 16, seems to have taken this over just a little bit.
So here we go with this bell tower being converted back. Sapper's still backing this on bottom. There's no opportunity to make the rotation towards mid. Dahaka's doing his best to get that top altar.
If all 3 make it across here and they can hold on to the 6 shots, you can actually see up at the top, June holding on to a 16. In this instance on Towers of Doom, sometimes you'll go the upgrade on D-Shield. You get extra time on that, sometimes used as kind of the finisher here. A little bit anticlimactic at times, but if you can get that, somebody just gets a channel for 1 second, you apply the D-Shield, they'll take care of the rest.
Equinox doing his best up there. It's enough damage, he might have to back.
But they need that. I mean, 1 channel is all it takes here for Tempo. We've got a 20-19. No Tomorrow. This is tough.
Here's the thing, though. Is this 8 seconds he's losing? Double altars loses you the game no matter what. No matter how many bell towers you have. It's only going to be 1 threat, and you take away that lethality. But if this costs you anything at a different point of the map, like this, you might want your 5-man group, Jin, under pressure. Odin forced.
It's going. D-Shield is out, but that is instant blow up as the Dragon Arrow from off screen down in that bottom altar is enough to seal the deal here. And again, it's Psalm making the plays and making sure to capitalize here as Tempo Storm late game. I mean, that kind of ended before it started there on that last altar phase.
Yeah, that was very well done. And what I was trying to talk about with that, when you sit on the top half of the map, right, is you have 2 altars spawn. If they end up getting that bell tower converted back in your favor, you're in a position where it's like, well, then they need both of them, right, to get that win condition. But it's like, if that 10 seconds of staying there costs you positional advantage over both of them enough, it is the same outcome, right, versus that trade-off. And that's one of those moments where you can never truly be like, this is versus this is not, right? Like, it's whatever decision's made is the only one we can actually test. But it hits that kind of moment where that is a trade-off where I can't help but feel like I would have rather see that, because how long those fights ended up lasting, or even really a majority of them, were literally, did Glaurung get there in time to match the Dahaka rotation? If the answer was yes, then it was close to a 50-50 / more likely Tempo wins it. If the answer was no, then we saw the Dahaka match make it. The last fight, the opposite story, right? You have the Diablo, and you're never going to make that within that reasonable amount of time. And that is why I've been so critical of, number 1, macro plays, because why I claim it quote-unquote dead. Fights happen too fast for it to make that kind of impact. And 2, why I have that kind of qualm with Dahaka is like, you have to go hard if you're going to be successful with him.
It seems like yesterday's Dragonshire game, Gale Force held off a little bit. That game, No Tomorrow held off a little bit. I think you're onto something.
Maybe. We'll figure it out here. We're going to go to a quick commercial break here, and then when we come back, we are going to have game number 3 here between No Tomorrow, Tempo Storm. Stick with us.